There's a mountain in Ireland called Benbulben in County Sligo that has a massive flat top that looks like a giant table, and Irish folklore says it's one of the last remaining gateways to the fairy realm. Locals genuinely believe fairies still live inside the mountain, and there are strict, unwritten rules about what you can and cannot do on Benbulben because disrespecting the fairies will bring bad luck that lasts generations. Here's what makes this story fascinating. Benbulben is this dramatic flat-topped mountain that dominates the Sligo landscape. It's 526 meters high, with sheer limestone cliffs on one side and a perfectly flat plateau on top that looks completely unnatural, like someone sliced the top off with a knife. Geologically, it's a unique formation caused by glaciers during the Ice Age, but Irish folklore has a different explanation. The flat top is a doorway to the Otherworld, where the Tuatha Dé Danann, the ancient fairy race of Ireland, retreated underground when humans took over Ireland, and Benbulben is one of the places where the veil between worlds is thinnest. Local people in Sligo take this seriously, not in a touristy leprechaun way, but in a genuine, "my grandmother warned me about this" way. There are specific rules passed down through generations. Never take rocks from Benbulben because they belong to the fairies, and removing them brings catastrophic bad luck. Never cut down trees on the mountain slopes without permission because fairy trees are sacred. Don't whistle at night near Benbulben because it attracts the fairies' attention and they might follow you home. And never ever disturb a lone hawthorn tree, fairy tree, anywhere near the mountain. These aren't suggestions. People who've lived in Sligo their whole lives follow these rules religiously because they've heard too many stories about what happens when you don't. The most famous modern example happened in the 1990s when a construction company was building a road near Benbulben and workers wanted to remove a hawthorn tree that was in the way. Local people protested, saying it was a fairy tree and moving it would curse the project, but the company ignored them and cut down the tree. Within months, the project experienced bizarre accidents, equipment mysteriously breaking, workers getting injured in unlikely ways, unexplained delays, and eventually the company went bankrupt before finishing the road. The unfinished road section is still there today, and locals say, that's what happens when you mess with the fairies. Whether you believe in coincidence or curses, the road definitely never got finished. There are dozens of stories like this, farmers whose cattle died after they cut down a fairy tree near Benbulben, families who experienced runs of terrible luck after taking rocks from the mountain as souvenirs, hikers who got lost on the plateau for hours despite it being a clear day with good visibility. Skeptics say it's confirmation bias. People remember the bad luck that followed breaking the rules but forget all the times nothing happened. Believers say the fairies don't punish everyone, just those who show deliberate disrespect. Benbulben has another eerie quality. The weather around it changes suddenly and dramatically. You can be standing at the base on a sunny day and the top will be completely shrouded in mist, or clouds will pour down the cliffs like waterfalls while everywhere else is clear. Locals say this is because the fairies control the mountain's weather, and when the mist comes down, it means the fairies don't want humans on top. Hikers are genuinely advised not to climb Benbulben when the mist rolls in because people have died falling from the cliffs, and whether it's fairies or just dangerous weather, the outcome is the same. The most chilling stories are about people hearing music on Benbulben, traditional Irish music, fiddles, flutes, singing, coming from inside the mountain with no source. Multiple hikers have reported this over the years, always describing it the same way. Beautiful, haunting music that seems to come from the rocks themselves, and when you try to find the source, it moves or disappears. Folklore says this is fairy music, and if you hear it, you should leave immediately because the fairies are trying to lure you into the mountain, and if you follow the music too far, you'll disappear into the Otherworld and never return. There are actual missing persons cases on Benbulben, people who went hiking and were never found despite extensive searches, And while the rational explanation is that they fell from cliffs or got disoriented and succumbed to exposure, locals quietly say the fairies took them. Here's what's undeniable. Benbulben has a presence. Even skeptics who climb it say there's something about the mountain that feels different, an atmosphere, a weight, a sense that you're being watched. The flat top is eerie because it's completely exposed with 360-degree views, and when you're up there alone, you feel incredibly small and vulnerable, like you're standing on a threshold between worlds. Whether that feeling comes from fairy magic or just the mountain's dramatic geology and isolation doesn't really matter. The feeling is real. Benbulben is also where the famous Irish poet W.B. Yeats wanted to be buried, and his grave is at the base of the mountain in Drumcliff Churchyard, and his epitaph says, "Cast a cold eye on life on death. Horsemen pass by." Yeats was obsessed with Irish fairy folklore and wrote extensively about the Tuatha Dé Danann and the Otherworld, and locals believe he chose to be buried at Benbulben because he knew it was a fairy gateway and wanted to be close to that magic, even in death. If you just learned there's a flat-topped mountain in Ireland where locals genuinely believe fairies live inside, there are strict rules about not taking rocks or cutting trees that people follow because breaking them brings documented bad luck. Construction projects have failed after cutting down fairy trees, and hikers hear unexplained music coming from inside the mountain. Follow for more Irish places where ancient folklore isn't just tourist stories, but something people who live there actually believe and respect.